Hey everybody, today we're going to take a look at a mask I've been wanting to review for a really long time. I just never had the chance because I never had one before. But today I'm finally going to look at the Empire EFlex. The EFlex is Empire's super high-end mask. It's a combination of the JT ProFlex and the Empire eVent. So it uses Empire's very high quality lens and a bottom very similar to the JT ProFlex bottom. The lens is the same lens you'll find on the Avatar, Helix, and eVent goggles. It is extremely wide angle, probably wider than it needs to be. It's a true dual pane thermal lens. I wore Avatars for a really long time, which use the same lenses, and they are excellent. I never had a problem with it fogging. It's a really fantastic lens. The lens change system is also very quick and easy. All you have to do is remove these little clips right there. There's one on each side. When you remove that, that allows you to turn the earpiece to which the strap clip is attached. Once you turn it, you can just pop out this little piece right here with the Empire logo on it. You do that on both sides. The lens pops right out. It's super fast, super easy. Putting the lens back in is just a reverse process. You put the lens in place. It has a channel running all the way around, a little groove right there. You just seat the lens in the groove, put these little clips back in place, then put the earpiece over it and turn it back down, and finally put the tiny little locking clips back in. It's an extremely fast, simple process. These are some of the fastest changing lenses that are available today. The bottoms are also really cool. The bottoms, as you can see, are very similar to the JT ProFlex bottoms. They are, however, a little bit tighter on the profile. They don't stick out quite as wide like the JT ProFlex bottoms do, and they are a little more rigid than the JT ProFlex bottoms. So you might still get smacked in the face, but the likelihood is somewhat lower than if you were wearing Flex 7 or ProFlex bottoms. As you can see though, they are still extremely flexible, and the venting is basically identical to the JT ProFlex. Along with the ProFlex, this is probably the most breathable goggle bottom out there. It's pretty much impossible to tell the difference between this or the ProFlex if one or the other has an advantage over the other in terms of breathability. They're both really excellent. The foam in here is the Empire foam, of course, because it's an Empire mask. They use the Empire foam, which is now, because JT is now owned by Empire, it is the same foam as the JT foam. So this is really excellent foam. I don't think it's quite as high quality as the older JT foam, but as far as the foam that is out there presently, this is about as good as it gets. And the reason this foam is so good, I think there are two reasons. One is that it's very comfortable, it's not rough or anything, and two is that it's denser than most other foams that are out there, like the dye foam or the V-Force foam, which is perfectly soft, comfortable, non-abrasive, but it compresses very easily to where you might actually have the goggle frame pushing up against you in some places. This foam is a little bit denser, so that's unlikely to happen with these goggles or JT goggles. These goggle frames are compatible with the formerly Invert/Empire, now just Empire, and also a little bit BT forehead guards and visors. The forehead guards come up about 1.5 to 2 inches, going kind of back towards the head to protect you from forehead shots. And the visors are very flat, but they of course will help keep the sun out of your eyes. Now of course, one really excellent feature with these goggles is the interchangeability. The tops use the normal kind of slot venting that you see on most goggle systems, but the bottoms, see if you can see that in the lens there, the bottoms use the normal JT holes system. And that allows you to take this bottom off and put a JT ProFlex bottom on, or a Spectra Pro Shield bottom, or a Flex 8 goggle system on here. These frames are compatible with all these different goggle systems. So it's not uncommon to see a goggle system with EFlex frames, lenses, and ears used in conjunction with some kind of JT bottom. And finally, of course, the coverage. Let's see how well this actually does. First thing here, from the front, you'll notice that the voice projection is excellent. That goes back to the venting and the breathability. This is essentially non-existent as far as I'm concerned, as far as how much it inhibits voice projection or airflow. It's really excellent. You'll also notice that from the front, this chin comes down quite low. So while my mouth is closed, my chin is not exposed. It comes down well below my chin. So you get excellent coverage on the front. From the side, you can see that it actually kicks up towards the ears at a fairly steep angle. So part of my cheek here is a little bit more exposed than you might prefer, right here, okay? Also, I should point out that from the front, these are a little more rigid than the JT ProFlex. Right, as I said before, you can take a shot here and it probably won't smack you in the face. On the cheek, this will smack you in the face. There's a lot of give there and almost no rigidity to the sides, so be aware of that. Now the ears. These ears are generally a lot better than the JT soft ears that you find on JT ProFlex and those goggles. But on right here, you can see it's flat and a little bit of my earlobe hangs down. One common modification that people make to these goggles is to use the event ears, which actually come down at an angle and meet the goggle bottoms right about here at this corner. It basically forms a straight line up. When you have those ears on here, you're less likely to have your earlobes hanging out of the bottom. And again, that's a very common mod that people do to these goggles. One more thing I want to show you while these are on is that there's a lot of space in here. This sits fairly far from my face. If you look right here, you can see that there's a couple of inches between my face and the front of the goggle system in here. Now, that in one way is a good thing because it contributes to the breathability, but I personally prefer goggles that sit a little bit closer to your face, and my preference for these would be for them to be tilted back a little bit from the bottoms of the goggles. If they're tilted back towards your chin at a little bit more of an angle, the coverage would be just as good. It would actually be better along the jawline, and it would be tighter. I don't think that would hurt the breathability because of all the venting in here. If these bottoms were shaped differently and didn't have great breathability, then of course that would be a problem. But these goggles as they are, I don't think that would really be an issue. Now of course, these goggles are pretty much the top of the line. That means you're going to pay top dollar for them. The basic goggles like this, all black or gray or something like that, are $110. However, if you want something a little more than just the basic package, you're going to be paying a lot more. You can get them with different colored straps, different kinds of ears. There are camo color schemes, skull designs. Those are going to cost a lot more. They go up to $130, maybe more. So yes, you're getting a great goggle system, but it's really going to cost you for it, and you have to really weigh that against, well, can I get a comparable system that gets me 90% of the way there for $60, for $70? And that's an open question. Some people might prefer the JT ProFlex that has many similar features minus the quick change lens, and that only costs $60 to $70, whereas this one, you know, for the quick change lens and the different ears is going to cost you $110. Is that really worth the difference? One other thing that people complain about with this that I don't think is a problem, but people have complained about it, is right here in the nose. When you're wearing these goggles, you can actually see a gap between the foam that separates the two panes of the lens and the nose itself. So you perceive this foam as blocking your view a little bit. I don't think that's actually a problem because this lens is the exact same lens that's used on the events and the avatars, and having used the avatars for a really long time, I never thought there was a problem with the field of view in the nose. The reason that happens is right here. This redesigned nose that's more like a JT nose is much narrower than the nose piece on the events or the avatars. So whereas on the events and the avatars, this little area is totally blocked off, so you can't see that gap in the lens between the foam and the nose. On this one, you can see that. The nose is just narrow enough that you can see that little gap. I don't think it's actually a problem. As someone who's played with this lens before, I don't think there's any problem with the field of view, but other people have said that it's distracting to have that black foam seeming to intrude upon your field of view. So before you buy these goggles, make sure you try them out. Make sure that's not this odd distracting thing that's going to keep you from liking them. That's my look at the Empire EFlex, Empire super high-end mask. That's a combination of the Event and the JT ProFlex. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.